Hello and welcome to this week's energy forecast for January 29th to February 4th. This is the moment where we cusp into the second month of 2024. And so I invite you just to take some time this week and reflect on what January has felt like to you. Like, what have been the obstacles? What have been the gifts? What have been the lessons? What have been the joys? Just kind of sit with the way in which January has offered you a really powerful opportunity to see how this next year is going to go. And like for me personally, I know that this Leo full moon that just happened last week really impacted me. Like last week was a challenging week, and I look at it as being a week of culling, right? What isn't part of my soul's work, of my vibrational evolution. And so last week was not my favorite week, even with the Leo full moon. I found the Leo full moon super supportive to what was occurring in my life, to guide me, to notice within all of the crisis or the external triggers that were happening, to keep coming back home to where my authentic truth was in all of these situations and circumstances. And so I really loved how that full moon offered to shine a light more on who we are at the core of our being. So I just want to bring that in, because like really sitting down and thinking about January, it's really noticing coming home to your beingness, your selfness, and noticing that, right? Like paying attention to that, giving like time to that, to say like, oh, I'm going to sit down with a warm beverage and just like really chronicle what January felt like to me. That's a big, beautiful gift you can give yourself. Now, as we're moving into this week and we're cusping out of January into a brand new month, we are in the descent, as I like to call it, from full moon to new moon. And, last year, Spirit told me, was a year of goo. That's the only way I can think of it. It's like we were all meant to be in a state of shedding, right? Like culling away what wasn't working for us and, building ourselves back up, and then realizing, nope, there's still a lot in here that isn't working for me. And then building ourselves up and just kind of noticing any relationships and things that we were cutting away. And this is our opportunity this week as well, is to kind of bring the energy of 2023 into this week and notice anything that's coming up that no longer aligns to the frequency that we are expanding into. And that's really important to note, right? Because as you shift the way you think, and you shift the way that you feel, and you shift the way that you want to experience the world and engage in the world, then your vibrational energy is going to change, right? You're going to rise to a new frequency. And then anything that is a lower frequency will have an opportunity to rise with you, or, spirit, universe, God, however you want to call it, might simply allow it to be removed from your field, so that, and this is what we don't want to do, is we don't want to diminish our energy to fit back into these spaces, places, and experiences that no longer align with who we're becoming. And that's kind of like where we're at this week. This is our like really powerful week to kind of be like, I know I'm expanding into this new version of me, or into this new opportunity that's coming to me, or this truth about who I am at the most authentic level, which was the Leo full moon's intention with us. And I'm noticing now this week, and the key here, the like actual key here, is to use your intuition. That's what Spirit was like, you need to tell them. You need to tell them that this week is about intuition. So as you're beginning to rise into these like really beautiful new aspects of self, authenticity, like joy, you see a future or a vision for yourself, and you're noticing yourself rising, and you're noticing others trying to be like, what are you doing? I don't know if I want you to come go and expand into that. I don't know who you are if you're not being the person I know you to. And, there's that separation of energy. Trust your intuition. Trust that you are being guided and supported and led by a higher purpose, a higher being, to expand, to grow yourself, to know yourself, which is to know is to grow in a way, right? And the more we know ourselves, the more we can grow, because it really is about being more of who we are and not being something more of what other people want us to be. And so in this phase of like expansion, this week we're just kind of being offered an opportunity to look around and to cull out the things that don't feel like they are expanding with us into these new waves of energy that we are being guided into. And that doesn't mean like breaking up with anyone. It doesn't mean like quitting your job. I'm not saying like we make these like monstrous decisions on the fly, right? This is about awareness. So it's like writing down what January meant to you, what you noticed, what the gifts, what the lessons were, what the obstacles, what the joys, like really giving yourself permission to sit with it. Then you're going to say like, okay, like for me personally, I feel really connected. Even though last week was a challenging week, I went through multiple crises. I feel more true to who I am. I had a lot of opportunity to sit with seeing some of the greatest aspects of who I am. Like I'm great with customer service and I'm great with helping people come to clarity with each other in conversation. And I got to utilize those skills last week. And so it shined a light on what makes me me. So I feel more authentically me as I'm moving into February. And you might have the same experience, or you might have had a light shine on you that you're exceptional at a different job that you want to place your attention on, maybe start looking for a job. You might have had a light illuminate on you that, you know, that you are a treasure and you get to have a relationship that teaches you how to be, or invites you to be the highest version of you. And you've noticed that you've been kind of like minimizing yourself to fit into relationships, especially personal, like intimate relationships. And so you might have seen the light of, you know, expansion on, ooh, no, I have a certain idea of how I want to be in a relationship, and what I'm experiencing does not match that idea. And so you might like slowly let some texty friends and some online social dating group people slide out of your radar, because you're like, wait a minute, that actually makes me feel less energetic than what I'm stepping into vibrationally right now. So spend this week, because we are in that from full moon to third quarter moon. So we're becoming really aware of what's not quite fitting, not quite the way it's supposed to be right now. And so let your intuition be the guide, right? Let's start to build that relationship, foster it, nurture it, love on it. Like talk to your body. How are we feeling about this? Does this feel in alignment? Does this feel off? How do I feel? Like, is it like, ooh, I feel nervousness. What is this nervousness? Is it nervousness because of a past experience? Is it nervousness because I feel really excited about it? Because those two are, you know, like two sides of the same coin. And so you just want to be using your intuition and feeling into this culling, or like, this is my vibrational expansion. This is where I want to be going. This is where I feel I'm going, and noticing if something is denser is pulling you back, and then just having that awareness of like, how does that make me feel? What is my intuition telling me? And we can only speak to our intuition by being with it, right? Sometimes it speaks to us like, don't turn right, or leave 30 minutes later, or whatever is happening. But like generally I have a relationship with my intuition. I say, hey, how you doing? Like, what do you think? And as a sacral authority, I'm like, or I feel excited about this. Or, you know, when I get the emotional feel in my body, like, I want to know more about it. Where are you coming from? Are you old? Are you young? Are you somebody that I want to get to know deeper? And well, I always want to get to know these parts of myself deeper and love on them. But like, where are you coming from? What is your fear? What are your hopes? How can I help you feel better? How can I love you even more? Like those kinds of things. So spend that time this week with yourself, your intuition, fostering that relationship. Number 1. Also, y'all know I love journal prompts. Journal about your January. Journal about your January. Because it sets a tone, right? Like, and again, it closes off one energy, opens us up to another. I just think that's so beautiful. I really do. So let's see what our card of the week is going to say. What's Spirit going to say? They speak to me, but what are they going to say to you through the cards, right? And I'm using Moonology by Yasmin Boland, and I think I'm just gonna not do the little thumbnail thingy up on the top. I'm showing you the box because it takes me longer. It like makes this an extra hour and a half process, and I want to get this information to you. But if you prefer the little box that says the box, shows the box of what the cards are instead of me just holding it up, let me know. But if you like it just with me holding up the box and I can get this video up on YouTube faster, let me know that too. All right, what do we got for this week's energy? You are good enough. You are good enough. You know, I just think that that in itself speaks for itself. But don't worry, I will get Spirit's message about this. So, the message here is that we are beginning to forge a relationship with the inner voice, the inner wisdom, the inner light that shines from within us. And, that is a relationship we foster. It is a relationship that we take time for. With anyone else in our life, we would foster the relationship outside of us. We meet somebody new, we go on dates, we, get introduced to their family, we get to know them a little bit. We learn what people like, we learn what they don't like. That's just something that we invest our energy in. And Spirit's saying this week, do that same practice, but for yourself. In a way, if you want to take yourself out on a date to sit with your intuition, to really tune into that inner voice or inner wisdom or frequency or conversation, however it works for you, right? Spend some time nurturing that relationship this week. Because when we sit into, and this is how they're going to tie it back into the card, when we feel like we're less than or we're not enough, we're going to automatically default to a setting of trying to receive that information from outside of us. Like, oh, was my post good enough? My email, my phone call, my this, my that. We're going to ask the questions to people outside of us. And if we sit into the awareness and the understanding and the knowing that we are enough this week, like I am more than enough, you know what I'm saying? Then it creates an environment or a space where I'm not going to be looking outside, right? I'm not meant to be looking outside because I'm enough. So now if I'm enough, I'm seeking my answers within me, and I'm not going anywhere else to find them because I know that I have more than enough answers in here. Right? So sit with that this week. Let yourself expand into the awareness and to the knowledge that you are enough and that you have this beautiful, energetic light that wants to expand out of you. And you're going to build this really loving relationship with your intuition. You're going to sit down, you're going to journal about January journal, and you're going to just be with the noticing of the energetic differences in your life. Like, ooh, I feel like I'm expanding, and ooh, these people are trying to tell me to come back down. Notice that. That's all. We're just using our intuition, right? Our feelers. So as always, if you've made it this far to the end of the video, I always love to hear how this lands for you. Did you notice any stress or overwhelm in this January? Kind of like the deconstruction, reconstruction still happening from 2023, because I sure did. How do you feel at the end of January as we cusp into a new month? What is your current relationship to your intuition? I want to know about all of this. So take a moment, leave the comments down below. I have very excitedly added a link to a website page. I thought I was never going to have a website page, but I made a little one. So if you want to learn more about, your own energy and speak to it, that's my favorite thing to do, right? Like I like to be the translator for human to energy. I like to introduce you guys and set up that first meeting if you find that a challenge to connect in with. So let me know, check it out. Let me know if you like the page, what you liked about it. I always like information. I'm just an information junkie. And enjoy this week. Settle in, sink in here, right? Because you are enough.